The recording has started. So once again, welcome to Bhakti Sangha Japa conference call. We are extremely fortunate to have His Grace Jayananda Gauranga Prabhuji here with us today. And Prabhuji will be enlightening us by walking us through Srimad Bhagavatam 4.23.29 onwards. Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Danvat Pranam, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much for giving us this opportunity, your valuable time and association this morning. Without further ado, I would like to hand over the call to you now. Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much, Mataji. Dandat Pranam. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnana Anjana Shalagaya Chakshurum Mihilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manubhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Tadati Sopadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yutatpayakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamsya Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadhuhitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakha Vidhamscha Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimati Jayapataka Swamiti Namini Namacharya Padaya Nitai Kripa Pradayini Gaura Katha Damavai Nagaragrama Tarini Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swamiti Namini Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharini Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshadharini Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktavrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So we'll speak a few words on Srila Lochana Das Thakur, whose disappearance is today. Before we start the verse, Lochana Das Thakur appeared in around 1520 AD in a place called Kograma in West Bengal in India. He was a disciple of Sri Narahari Thakur, who was very close to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. When he was about 17 years old, he followed his spiritual master's instruction, and then he sat on a stone slab under a tree, and he started writing the book called as Chaitanya Mangala on a piece of a bark. But then when he had finished writing the book, at that time, the Vrindavana Das Thakur, we all know, had already written a book, and he had named that book also as Chaitanya Mangala. So there was a problem now that needed to be solved, and then the leading Vaishnavas in Vrindavan, headed by Raghunath Das Goswami and Jiva Goswami, and they all met together in Vrindavan to solve this problem. So then they decided that this book of Vrindavana Das Thakur will then be called as Chaitanya Bhagavata, but then the Lochana Das Thakur's book will remain as Chaitanya Mangala. So when we read this book of Chaitanya Mangala, we find that the book is full of rasa, full of mellows. And it's very evident when we see every chapter, it stresses on certain, it stresses on the mellows exhibited by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And it's not very chronological. Unlike in the Chaitanya Bhagavata, it's full of descriptions, and of course Chaitanya Charitamrita is pretty composite in many in terms of descriptions, in terms of philosophy, in terms of it exhibits some of the mellows of Mahaprabhu as well. But Chaitanya Mangala stresses heavily on the mellows, and in some cases it has some very heavy poetic description as well. And Lochana Das Thakur himself was a musician, and he took this order from his spiritual master pretty seriously. And he himself based this on a Sanskrit biography of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and that was called as Krishna Chaitanya Charitra Mahakavya, and that was written by Murari Gupta. He was an associate of Mahaprabhu, and he was a physician, and he had written the Sanskrit biography of Sri Krishna Chaitanya Charitra Mahakavya. So what we can find in different biographies of Mahaprabhu is every biography, they exhibit some unique features, and there are common elements in throughout, but then they also exhibit some unique features, and they show the love and affection which the devotees had for Chaitanya Mahaprabhu at the time, as they describe as pastimes, whether it's Chaitanya Bhagavata, Chaitanya Mangala, Chaitanya Charitamrita, Krishna Chaitanya Charitra Mahakavya, then we have Chaitanya Chandramrita, and so on. So we also know about a popular bhajan. Yeah, he had also Lochana Das Thakur has also written many bhajans as well, and one on Nityananda Prabhu, which is very popular, and which is very popular, Parama Karuna Bahudujana. And so, with those words, we will start with our um, verse for the day, from reading from Srimad Bhagavatam 4.23.29. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udikayet. Nashtapraye Swabhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki. I offer my humble obeisances unto all the Vaishnavas this morning. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripasindubhya vacha patitanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Maitreya uvacha stuvatishva amarastrishu patilokam gatavaduhu yamba atma pidam duryo painyah prabhachudashrayah. Translation. The great sage Maitreya continued speaking. My dear Vidura, when the wives of the denizens of heaven were thus talking amongst themselves, Queen Archi reached the planet with her husband, Maharaj Prithu, the topmost self-realized soul had attained. Purport by His Divine Grace, Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. According to Vedic scriptures, a woman who dies with her husband or enters into the fire in which her husband is burning also enters the same planet her husband attains. In this material world, there is a planet known as Patiloka, just as there is a planet known as Pitraloka. But in this verse, the word Patiloka does not refer to any planet within this material universe. For Prithu Maharaj, being the topmost among the self-realized souls, certainly returned home back to Godhead and attained one of the Vaikuntha planets. Queen Archi also entered the Patiloka, but this planet is not in the material universe, for she actually entered the planet which her husband attained. In the material world also, when a woman dies with her husband, she again unites with him in the next birth. Similarly, Maharaj Prithu and Queen Archi united in the Vaikuntha planets. In the Vaikuntha planets, there are husbands and wives, but there is no question of their giving birth to children or having sex life. In the Vaikuntha planets, both husbands and wives are extraordinarily beautiful, and they are attracted to one another, but they do not enjoy sex life. Indeed, they consider sex to be not very relishable, because both husband and wife are always absorbed in Krishna consciousness and in glorifying and chanting the glories of the Lord. According to Bhakti Vinod Thakur, also, a husband and wife can turn a home into a place as good as Vaikuntha, even while in his material world, being absorbed in Krishna consciousness. Even in this world, husband and wife can live in Vaikuntha simply by installing the deity of the Lord within the home and serving the deity according to the directions of the Shastras. In this way, they will never feel the sex urge. That is the test of advancement in devotional service. One who is advanced in devotional service is never attracted by sex life, and as soon as one becomes detached from sex life and proportionally attached to the service of the Lord, he actually experiences living in the Vaikuntha planets. In the ultimate issue, there is actually no material world. But when one forgets the service of the Lord and engages himself in the service of the senses, he is said to be living in the material world. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. So, we will see 3 learning objectives from today's verse. The first one is, let's see again, revisit the context of this verse as we are going through this chapter and explain what does Patiloka mean in this verse. The second learning objective will be how to turn our home into a place as good as Vaikuntha. The third learning objective would be, what does it mean by this phrase, in the ultimate issue, there is no material world. So before we start with this first learning objective about what is the Patiloka in this verse refer to, let's just briefly discuss the context as we went over this chapter. So when Queen Archie, she saw her husband, Maharaj Prithu, who had been so merciful to her and the earth, and she saw that there was no symptoms of his life. So Queen, and they were already they were already gone to the forest. So she executed the necessary funeral function. Then she circumambulated the fire, and then she entered into the flames of her husband. At that time, the demigods and all their wives from the heaven, they started showering flowers on the funeral pyre and began to speak among themselves as like that how chaste the queen was. That the queen, by the dint of her inconceivable pious activities, so she followed her husband upwards. So as far as they can see, she was moving upwards. So now let's see what is in this verse, what does the word Patiloka refer to? So Prabhupada says here that in the material world, also there is a Patiloka. So just like Pitroloka, so there is a Patiloka. But then he says that the word Patiloka does not refer to any planet in the material universe. And that is obvious because we have the Maharaj Prithu as a topmost soul. He passed away in Krishna consciousness and he went back to one of the Vaikuntha planetary systems. And so Patiloka here refers to the loka where the husband also went to. And so the husband went to one of the Vaikuntha planets. So the wife also went to one of the Vaikuntha planets. So that means that there are two airplanes, and one airplane, spiritual airplane, that carries the Maharaj Prithu and to the Vaikuntha planet, and the other airplane carrying the queen to the Vaikuntha planet. And so what they are seeing is that as far as they could see, so that means that these wives of the denizens of the heaven, they were astonished to see how Maharaj Prithu and his wife had achieved such an exalted position. So the denizens of the wives of the denizens of the heavenly planets, so they were able to see downwards and they were able to see upwards. So downwards, because Maharaj Prithu, he was ruling the earth, which is a lower planetary system in comparison with the heaven. And they could also see upwards towards the Brahmaloka. And so what they were seeing is the word urdhvam. So they were going, this is described in one of the previous verses, so urdhvam, so they were going upwards. And they were going upwards in beyond the moon, the sun, the Venus, the Brahmaloka. So they were crossing all the, and they were going beyond the material covering and entering the spiritual sky, where the innumerable Vaikuntha planets are there. So this is actually these verses where they are passing through the different planetary systems, the sun, the moon, and moving upwards towards the Brahmaloka and piercing through the material sky. This the same set of experiences have also been cited by one Sri Vaishnava saint, and his name is called Nammarvar, and he actually sings about 10 stanzas in a poetry called as Sur Visumbu, where he describes the experiences of a Vaishnava saint as they leave the body and they move towards the Vaikuntha, and they sort of mirror the experiences here, which the denizens of the heaven, the wise of the denizens of the heaven, so they are all describing describing how Maharaj Prithu is moving upwards towards the spiritual planetary system. So, but what we can also see, what we can see that the ladies in the higher planetary systems, they can see downward and upward, so they can see the body of Maharaj Prithu, the spiritual body, as so when when the body is being burned, the spiritual body entering, and Archi was entering into fire, they look upwards, and then there is only so much they can look with their material eyes. They're able to see that they are able to go. They are going beyond beyond material visibility. So, when the two airplanes reached the Vaikuntha planetary system. So that's the first learning objective here. What we have is like, what is the Pati Loka? So that means, where does the wife also go to? So, and it's very clear that they both have gone to the same planetary system. So let's move on to the second learning objective of this verse, which is, how can we turn our home into an experience Vaikuntha as we are living in this earth? So this is very, in Brahma Samhita, it's stated there, Andahantarastam Paramanu Jayantarastam Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami. So what is it? Andahantarastam. So that means Krishna is immanent and he is transcendent, and this is simultaneously. Simultaneously, Krishna is immanent and he is transcendent. And that's what is referred to in this verse in Brahma Samhita, Andahantarastam Paramanu Jayantarastam. So Andan, so that is in the material universe. Andahantarastam refers to, let's say, Garbhodakasaya Vishnu. So when Mahavishnu, when he expands as Garbhodakasaya Vishnu, he goes at the bottom of every universe, and he lies in the bottom of the universe as Garbhodakasaya Vishnu. So this is what is referred to in Brahma Samhita as Andhantarastam. So this is, and not only that Vishnu is present at the bottom of the universe as Garbhodakasaya Vishnu, but Ishvara Sarvabhutanam Hriddeshe Arjuna Tishtati. So Krishna is also present everywhere as Super Soul. And how is he present? The Vishnu who lies in the milk ocean, Kshirodakasaya Vishnu, he is present in everybody's heart as Super Soul. In this way, Krishna is immanent. So he is there in everybody's heart as Super Soul. So Ishvara Sarvabhutanam. So he's there in everybody's heart as Super Soul. But then, not only that he is present in everybody's heart, but he is also the Brahma Samhita verse says, Paramanu Jayantarastam. Paramanu means atom. So he is also present in every atom. So that is why even when you see there is a movement of electrons, protons, and an atom and everything, so that is because Krishna is present everywhere in atom as well. He is spread everywhere. He is transcendent. He is present in the Bhagavan feature in Goloka Vrindavan, but at the same time he is spread everywhere and he is immanent as well. So this forms the basis of what Bhaktivinoda Thakur says in this, what Prabhupada cites as what Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, that how we can convert our home into Vaikuntha. That's because Krishna is transcendent and Krishna is immanent. So let's also now see how Krishna is transcendent. So Krishna in the Bhagavan feature is transcendent, and Krishna in his Paramatma feature as Kshirodakasaya Vishnu, who lies in the milk ocean, is also immanent in everybody's heart as a super soul. So as in the Bhagavan feature, so he is transcendent in his abode as Goloka Vrindavan. But then we might wonder, okay, so are we going, so when we get liberated, are we going to go into this Goloka Vrindavan, which is where exactly is that located in the Vaikuntha planetary system? So here, Prabhupada, he narrates this actually in a lecture that was given in Bombay in 1973. And incidentally, it's very, just wanted to remind that this is the 50th anniversary celebration also for Sri Radha Rasarihari deities in Mumbai. And and 50 years, 1973, he quoted this, he said this in a, Prabhupada said this in a lecture there about Goloka Vrindavan, where he cites Tatra Tishtami Narada Yatra Gayanti Mad Bhaktaha. So there is, it's not like Krishna is just transcendent, situated in Goloka, and but he says it's not that Krishna says he stays where his devotees are chanting about him and his glories. Yatra Gayanti Mad Bhaktaha. So Krishna's place, Goloka Vrindavan, it's not that there is a locus standi, that it's located in some point, one in a certain point in Vaikuntha, and that the Krishna in the Bhagavan feature is there in that particular locus standi. So what Prabhupada is saying here is that Goloka Vrindavana is spread everywhere. So you cannot restrict that Krishna is there in one particular locus, and this Goloka Vrindavan itself is spread everywhere. And how is this Goloka Vrindavan spread? That is by this thing what Narada Muni says, Tatra Tishtami Narada Yatra Gayanti Mad Bhaktaha. That Krishna says that wherever his devotees are there he is present in the Bhagavan feature. So that means that God can be present anywhere. So he's simultaneously omnipresent. So that means that there is no difference between God and his place. So Goloka Vrindavan is not different from Krishna. So in his Bhagavan feature, if he is present, his place Goloka Vrindavan and Krishna in his personal form, they are not different. Tishtami Narada Yatra Gayanti Mad Bhaktaha. So that means that his bhaktas or devotees, they are so powerful that by chanting the holy name of Krishna, they can make the supreme all-powerful Lord Krishna descend in that place. So Krishna is present in Goloka Vrindavan, but the devotees of the Lord can. So the word devotee itself means that they are devoted to the Bhagavan feature of the Lord. Just as the yogis are focused on the Paramatma feature of the Lord, so Madhva Muni, like Madhvacharya is a Muni. A Muni is focused on yogi. As a yogi, as a Paramatma feature of the Lord, the devotees are focused on the Bhagavan feature of the Lord. So the Loka standi of Goloka Vrindavan is in such a way that it's spread, and the devotees, by chanting, wherever there are devotees chanting the holy names of the Lord, the all-powerful Lord descends there out of his causeless mercy. So there is actually another statement of Bhaktivinoda Thakur in the same thing, in the same context. So he says that we can change. So this is the verse that Prabhupada from Bhaktivinoda Thakur, whatever he says, he cites it in this book, but that we can change our home also into Vaikuntha. And Prabhupada says that this is not very difficult. And why is it not very difficult? Because Krishna is all pervading. And because Krishna is all pervading, Vaikuntha itself is all pervading. And that is something that we need to realize by what is called as an authorized process. So how can we, so it's not like, okay, so we are going, so even though it is described in this verse, okay, so as we move in our material perception, we see the world in a certain way, but the Vaikuntha is all pervading. If Krishna is all pervading, Vaikuntha is all pervading, because there is no difference between Krishna and his abode, the Vaikuntha, or the capital, Goloka Vrindavan. So Prabhupada says that to turn one's home into Vaikuntha is not a very difficult job. That means we have to adopt an authorized process. And what is the authorized process? It means that we have to get rid of anachar. Anachar means sinful activities. Sinful activities we have to get rid of them. So what does it mean? So it means Anukulya Krishna Anushilanam Pratikulya Nivarchanam. So that means that whatever is conducive to Krishna consciousness, we need to adopt. And whatever is not favorable for Krishna consciousness, we need to give it up. Anukulya, Krishna Anushilana, Pradikulyane Varcham. So whatever is conducive to Krishna consciousness, we adopt, and whatever is not conducive, we give up. It may not be that easy to begin with, but as we move on, and as the material nature teaches us lessons about the calamitous conditions of this material world, different people will learn according to that as well. So as we see that there are 4 different kinds of people who move towards Krishna, and one of those is those who are suffering, and those who need economic gratification, and those who are going because of religious activities, and then the 4th one is Jnani cha Bharatashava. So Jnani is the 4th one. Those who in knowledge, they move towards Krishna. So that means Locha. So we spoke about Lochana Das Thakur in the morning. So Lochana Das Thakur says that one has to give up this practice of sense enjoyment. So we say, we think, so now we have one kind of calamitous condition in our life. Okay, so when will this calamitous condition, when will this go away? But the problem with that is that even though this one calamitous condition is going to go away, the next one is coming very soon. Okay, so there is some small gap probably. Sometimes there is not much gap either, even. So for us to become we need to give up this goal of trying to enjoy in this material world, because it's not going to happen. So then he becomes purified. So that means if one wants to be eternal, blissful, that means Lochana Das Thakur says, if you want to be eternally blissful and full of knowledge, then one has to give up this idea of trying to want to enjoy material world, because it's not going to happen. Dukkhalayam ashashvatam. So that means that this world is full of misery. So that means dukkha. So once we understand that that's the nature of this world, but if we still go towards wanting to enjoy, things will always. Material world is not going to give us what we want. So what is the process? So we need manmana bhavamad bhakto madhyajima namaskuru. So we take up these things. And what is that? Simply always think of Krishna. Manmana, you become Krishna's devotee and worship Krishna. So, and how do we do that? Patram, pushpam, phalam, thoyam. So little flower, little fruit, little water, and these kind of things. So we establish, invite deities into our home, offer a little fruit, little flower, and in sincerity we offer that to Krishna. So, and then the other part is Pratikulya Nivarjanam. So that means we also avoid the 4 sinful activities and and unnecessary animal killing, Stri Sangha, that is associating with on a sense gratification basis, unnecessary animal killing, pana, drinking, intoxication, gambling. So we give up all these 4 principles, then our life becomes pure. So the sum and substance of the second learning objective for the day, that is how to turn our home into Vaikuntha, and that is possible by these 2 pillars of surrender under the personality of the Godhead, and there are 6 limbs of surrender to personality of Godhead, and the first 2 is 1, to accept things that are favorable to Krishna consciousness, and number 2, to give up things which are disturbing, which are not favorable towards Krishna consciousness. And that's what we discussed. And as we do this, we install the deities at home, and then we offer basic things to deities and develop a relationship with Krishna. And that in that process, we will be able to experience Vaikuntha. So let's move towards the last learning objective of the purport here, and that is, what does it mean by when Prabhupada says in the purport that in the ultimate issue there is no material world? So there are 2 parts to this. sentence. The first part is that the material world, we already spoke about this, that there is no point of looking for happiness. Because there is always three kinds of sufferings. Adhyatmika, Adi Bhautik, Adi Devik. So Adhyatmika, things that are created by ourselves, our body, and Adi Bhautik, so by other living entities and by the demigods, natural disturbances, and they keep giving, material nature keeps giving us this disturbances, because within the absence of disturbances, we are never, many living entities are not going to go towards, are going to going towards self-realization, and so these are all required parts to help ourselves here. But the other part here is that where Prabhupada says in his purport, in the ultimate issue, there is no material world. So what does this mean? So this means that our perception, our material perception of this world is like a dream. That means that all there exists is just the spiritual world. So when one dreams at night, one perceives the things that happen in the dream to be real. So let's say in a dream, one is crying. Then one day there is a tiger chasing them, and then we cry, tiger, 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 and then we cry. But then, and then you're seeing the tiger. All that is a fact. You're seeing the tiger is actually chasing you. Maybe you're crying and you're afraid, you're fear. But then in the morning you wake up and there is no tiger. But did the dream happen? Yes. But was there factually a tiger? No. So in this way, we get an impression of the factuality, and that is the dream. So, but there is an advantage here. And what is the advantage is, the advantage of having this human body is that even in the dream, even though the things that are happening in the dream factually did not happen, but one can still realize the reality that is God in that dream. So as we are living this material, as we are going through this dream, there is still, in the dream, we can still see the reality, which is God, and that is Krishna. So the Vedic scriptures, they keep always saying Uttishta. Uttishta. Uttishta means to get up, to wake up. Jagrata, wake up, wake up. So wake up from the dream so that you are able to see God. So, and this is actually confirmed in the very first verse of the Bhagavatam. So Jiva Goswami in his Tattva Sandarbha, he says actually that how do you know what an author of the scripture says? So he says like when we try to see the Vedanta Sutra or any scripture for that matter, what is the author trying to say? So he says, look at the very first verse, look at the last verse, look at what the author is saying repeatedly again and again to understand what is the intention of the author. And so here, if we look at in the Bhagavatam, it's very clear. So if you see the very last verse, he says Nama Sankirtanam. So he says Namo Dukkha Shamanaha Tam Namami Haripram. So the very last verse of Bhagavatam says chanting the holy names of Krishna is the essence of getting out of the sinful reactions. But then let's also see the first verse, 1.1.1, first canto, first chapter, first verse. There also, Vyasadeva, he uses the word Muhyanti. Muhyanti means that Vyasadeva says that the manifested internal potency is real. So the manifested internal potency is real, whereas the Bahiranga Shakti, the external manifested energy, in the form of material existence is only temporary and it's illusory, like the mirage in the desert. That means, in actuality, there is no reality in our perception of the manifested world. So that means that when the lens through which the materialists look at this material world, that material world has no factual reality. So So now let's try to distinguish this from the Mayavada philosophy. Because according to the Mayavada philosophy, this manifested world or the material world is mithya or Maya, because their general principle is that Brahma Satyam Jagan Mithya. That means that the Brahman effulgence, Hiranyena Patrena Satyaspakita Mukam, the Brahman effulgence is true, but the cosmic manifestation is illusory because it's not Brahman. So it is illusory. So the Mayavadis the theory say that whenever we find anything like personality, we have a form. Whenever there is a quality, whenever there is a characteristic, whenever there is an attribute, that is not real, because they consider everything that has qualities as a manifestation of Maya. So that means that indeed, when the Supreme Personality of Godhead Himself appears, that's the greatest sin that they commit, that by saying that his form, his personality, his qualities, they're all Maya. And that is why Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says Mayavadi is Krishna Aparadi. That is, they're offenders under the lotus feet of Krishna for saying that that the form of the Lord itself is illusory. So this is what is contrasted by Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita by saying Maya Dakshena Prakriti Suyate Sacharacharam. That means that this material energy is working under Krishna's direction. It's not working. It is not that everything is false, but it is working under Krishna's direction. And how do we understand that? Om Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate. So that means that the supreme absolute truth, Krishna, is perfect. He's complete. Therefore, anything emanating out of him, all his divine energies are also perfect and complete. So what is then the difference between what the Mayavadis say, that this material universe is, they say that Jagan Mithya. So what is the difference between that and when we say that the material existence is illusory, like the image in the desert? So what does the Vaishnava conception here mean according to the Achintya Bhedabhedam? What it means is that the Vaishnava sees things, everything in relationship with Krishna. That means even in this material world, that means by advanced knowledge, by advanced spiritual knowledge, as we move on, everything becomes spiritualized. So that means that everything in this material world is already spiritual. But due to our lack of knowledge, we see things as material. So that means that actually all there exists is spiritual world. All there exists is, so any object that we see in this material world actually belongs to the spiritual world when we are able to be conscious that they are all being utilized in the service of Krishna. And when we are Krishna conscious, then we are able to see that we are actually part of the spiritual world as a spiritual entity, and that there is our perception of this material world is what is faulty. And so there is so that is the difference. And so in this verse, therefore, Bhakti Vinod Thakur Prabhupada quotes in this verse that how we can convert our home into Vaikuntha planetary system. So this is an advanced realization of the Vaishnavas, that we don't have to. It is a simple process, but what keeps us from moving away is the material attachments and our perception of this material world. And a way to move away from this is called as Sadhu Sangha, or association of devotees. So this teleconference, through this, we have this association of devotees, and how much ever we read, how Prabhupada books are so powerful, but we complement this by association of devotees, because it can give us enormous. It's the way which will help us move and realize the spiritual world. So it's almost going to be 7:10. I will stop here, and if there are any questions, we can discuss this. So thank you so much. Panchakalpatarubhyascha kripasindubhyeva patidana pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namah. Dandavat pranam. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Dharma Pranam, all glories to Srila Prabhupada and Guru Maharaj. Oh, a very, very wonderful lecture, Prabhuji. Some parts I struggle to understand, some part. Maybe I'll try to communicate my question, if that's okay with you. Hare Krishna.
Of course, Mataji. Dandavat pranam. Hare Krishna.
Okay. So my question is that, remember when you were talking about the dream part of it, like when we see the dream, we actually feel that there is a tiger there, but actually when we get up, we find that it's not there, it's not a reality. But then you kind of compared it, right, with this, with the fact that with Krishna part of it. So I'm not able to understand how the dream that we perceive is related to the Krishna. If you could explain, please.
So, Mataji, I am not exactly sure what you're saying, but I'm going to try to answer. And then if you think that I'm not, if I didn't get the question correct, then maybe you can just interrupt me. And I think what I was saying there was I was just quoting Prabhupada. And so Prabhupada, in a conversation with a devotee, he says how even in that dream, so in the dream, okay, we are so many material things are happening in the dream, but those things, our perception of all those things happening in the material world are illusory. But however, even in that dream, we can still realize that reality. And what is the reality? And that is Krishna. So that means that even in this, so what is it? What it essentially means is that even in this material world, there is just no point saying, oh, everything that we are seeing here is our perception is illusory, and there is no point in all these things. There may be no point in the material things, but still, it is an opportunity to become Krishna conscious. That opportunity is still there in this material life, the material life dream. That opportunity is still there. So even if our perception of this material world might be false, we every second we have the opportunity to come to realize, even in this material life as a dream, even in the dream, we have the opportunity to become Krishna consciousness, and that is the reality. That's what I meant, Mataji. Yeah, so I think basically with this example, Prabhupada was kind of disputing the Mayavadi claim, which considers that this whole material world is actually mithya, right? If I'm not able to understand, that is the reason why he quoted that example of the dream part of it. Yeah, in the Mayavadi philosophy, it says that Brahma Satyam, Jagan Mithya. So that means the material world is actually there is no existence at all. There is no existence at all. But we are not saying that the dream itself did not occur. So if you see that the dream is there, the dream is the illusion is there, but it doesn't have any um, um, okay, let me put it this way. So let's say that when we look at this is the purport in Bhagavatam 1.1.1. So where Prabhupada says that in a desert we are looking at a mirage. So there is we think that there is water, but actually there is no water there. So but there is water elsewhere. So that means that even though there is no water in the mirage, okay, water in the mirage, and what we are seeing there is just illusory, the fact that we did see the mirage is still there. You get the point, Mataji? So the mirage is there, even though there is no water there. The illusion did occur. So that's the distinction with the Mayavadi philosophy. When they say that the Jagan Mithya, that is the world is false. That means it doesn't exist. But we say it actually exists, but it is actually spiritual. Our perception that this is material is what is not true, but it is actually spiritual. Everything that is we are seeing in this material world has to be dovetailed in service of Krishna. So they're all so we will be this material world is actually spiritual, but when we understand that they're all dovetailed with Krishna. Does that make sense? Mataji?
Yeah, now it becomes clear. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Thank you so much for class. Hey, I'm so glad that you brought up this subject of material being false. Um, my question, let me see if I can articulate my question properly. I feel like there are two senses to this word material. One is when we say that material means to see this world in an illusory way. Illusory means to not see its relationship to Krishna, to see it as something separate from Krishna, to have this faulty vision of this world. That's one sense of the word material. But then I feel like there's another sense, which means a particular category of Krishna's infinite variety of spiritual energies. So out of all of Krishna's energies, there is one category that we call material, and if my understanding is correct, I don't know, but that particular category of energy that we call material is what he uses to create this material world. And so this material world is an actual place. It's a place that's different from the spiritual world where there's Vaikuntha and Goloka, but even though it's called material world, it's not an imaginary world, it's not an illusory world, it's an actual place, and in that sense is real, So I don't know, could you comment on my understanding?
So Mataji, if you look at this purport, where like last 3 lines, so where Prabhupada says in the ultimate issue there is no material world. So that's what I was describing today, because in the ultimate issue, there is no material world. So what does it actually mean? So we do, when we see the material world, when we see through the material lens, and then, so we do, all that we see, as you said, is real and it exists. But the difference is that they're all not meant for our sense gratification. They're all meant to be dovetailed with Krishna. And they're already dovetailed with Krishna, but we need to be able to see it. So when we are able to see it, then we will be able to see that this material world actually belongs to, is part of the spiritual world. So that's what it means by saying that we can convert. If we see this purport very carefully, we can understand the philosophy very nicely. We can see that how we can convert our home into a spiritual place. So that means, so when we say that we can convert our home to spiritual place, so that means that we are transcending from our material perception of things into spiritual, into the true spiritual way of into spiritual world. So that means that we can live that life. So for example, we have our spiritual master. So it might they are already living in the spiritual world. It's not like they are living in the material world, right? So that means that they are experiencing the different. They are able to see Vaikuntha. They are able to see the pastimes of Krishna. They are able to see everything. So that means that we just because if one person is able to see everything in only matter, so that would not mean that, but we also need to see the Mahajanas, the great souls who are living in this planet, but they are actually living in Vaikuntha. They are living in Vaikuntha because they are able to see everything in as spirit and as connected with Krishna.
Okay. Yeah, that's clear. I still have one question though. We hear that. Oh, first of all, can you just give me? I have to get a pen. Can you give me that verse number that you were just referencing?
The verse, the one that I said was the very first verse of Bhagavatham, Mataji. It's 1.1.1. So it has about 10 pages of purport, and there is like one whole page about this mirage and illusory. The very first verse of Bhagavatham.
Yeah, and it's in that purport where you said the I think 3 lines from the bottom or something, right?
Which one, Mataji? Tell me again. Can you tell me that? What's that?
You referenced me to that a section where I think you said it's like the last but 3 lines.
Oh, that's in this purport. The verse that we discussed today, 4.23.29. It's in the it's in the purport of today's discussion where Prabhupada says in the it's the last sentence of this purport. In the ultimate issue, there is actually no material world.
Okay, yeah, that's the one I was talking about.
That's in our purport for the day.
Yeah. Okay, so my question that I still have is, you know how it is said that in the spiritual world there is one dark corner, right? Where there is this material world. So when the material world is described as occupying one dark corner of the spiritual world, as if to say we're like under a physical cloud or something. Is that language just figurative or is it factual, actual?
So I'm not sure. I really don't know exactly the place where you cited that from, Mataji, about the dark thing. But then, but what I can remember is where Prabhupada says that in the spiritual world there is no need of any illumination because Krishna's effulgence itself is all, and here we need a sun because it is dark. Maybe I will take that, even though I don't know what exactly where exactly you cited that from. But
I mean, it's a very, if somebody else on the call knows what I'm talking about, because I'm referring to something that's very commonly heard in Krishna consciousness, that the material world is is just like one dark corner of the whole spiritual world. I don't know why.
So Mataji, so here we have as soon as the sum and substance is just this. As soon as we understand that everything is spiritual and all that we see through the material eyes can be spiritualized, that means that we will understand that this material world is part of the spiritual world. In the ultimate issue, there is nothing called material. But the fact that there is, but still, it doesn't mean that the dream itself did not happen. The dream is there. So we just need to wake up, uttishta. We need to wake up from the dream. So the Mayavadi's philosophy is that the dream itself doesn't have a factual reality. The fact that we are in the dream and doing nothing about it and getting out of the dream and understanding the reality is still the Vaishnava perspective. So that means that I'm not saying that there is not that our even if our perception of the material world is illusory, but in that and that we in that illusory perspective we still need to realize Krishna, the reality.
Okay. When yeah, I do understand you. When we say when Krishna says that like the elements in this world, they're material elements in this world, right? Then what does that mean in this context? So we have the earth, water, fire, air, ether. Those are material elements. So what does that mean now?
Okay, Mataji. So I'll give you another example. Okay, so this, in the modern context, let's say that there is a video game, and somebody's playing some video game, and they get so there are so many things that are happening in the video game, and somebody's playing that game, and the player assumes that he or she is the person who's actually inside the video game doing all those games. But once they are done with the game, was there any factual reality for all the things that happened in the game? No. But did the game itself exist? Yes. Because but when you come out of the game, so maybe the person got killed in the game, and maybe the person got hurt in the game, maybe the person won several dollars in the game. But when you come out of the game, then you will realize that all those things actually have no factual reality, because you really don't have any dollars. You are neither killed nor had any injuries. So that means that all those things, you just perceive that you are the player in the game, and you just behave as though all those things happened. Factually, none of those things really happened. You got it, Mataji?
Yeah.
But then the game was still there. The game was still constructed. That illusion, it's not like that the game didn't you just assume that you are part in the game. So that's probably the answer to what you were asking. So when Krishna says that he has done this material, he's got these elements, constructed this element, that means that the illusion is definitely created. But you choose to participate in that illusion because you're wanting to satisfy your senses. I'm not talking about you, but one is wanting to satisfy the senses and not Krishna. Therefore, one is put into that illusion.
Yeah, the video game is an actual thing. My perception, the illusion of my perception, that's real. So a person who is seeing properly, right? When they perceive earth, water, fire, air, ether, what we call these material elements, for the, let's say, for the self-realized soul, right? For the self-realized soul who is not subject to this contamination, to this illusion, for that person, does he sees earth, water, fire, air, ether as therefore now spiritual elements, or does he see them as what we're calling material elements?
So they see the reality, and the reality is spirit. There is spirit. And that spirit, the difference, it's very simple, Mataji. So because from all what you said, it looks like it's because you're saying all the right things there. So the main difference is that's the difference between what Mayavadis the reason why they are not able to see that this world, the Vaishnava conception of the world is because they are not able to understand that the spirit is variegated, that the spirit has attributes, the spirit has forms, the spirit can be in the form of mountains, the spirit can be in the form of earth, water, air. So they are not able to see that the spirit itself is having all these. It can be that the spirit itself is variegated and differentiated into all these forms. That is.
My problem is not Mayavadi thing. My problem is that Krishna himself in the Gita, he calls these different energies material. Krishna himself.
Yeah, yes, Mataji. That's what we because in today's discussion we said that Maya Dekshena Prabhakati Characharam. So we said that the material energy is under the control of Krishna. But what Prabhupada says in this verse, and that towards the end, the purport is that in the ultimate, that's when we carefully see the word, in the ultimate sense, there is no material world because it is actually spiritual for the Krishna conscious person.
Okay. Okay, Prabhu. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you, Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu Dhanvat Pradhan, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Guru Maharaj. Very excellent class and very well explained everything. Thank you for coming in.
Thank you, Mataji.
Enlightening.
Thank you.
So Prabhu, means you were talking about, if the husband is pious, so wife will also get the same benefit. But what about if wife is devotee and husband is not a devotee? Then does even that case, husband gets the what the wife does, he is also eligible to get pious activities from his wife?
I really don't know the exact answer to your question. Just based on the little things I know about this, what I've heard from my spiritual guides is that this. That there is a 50% credit of whatever the husband does, the wife does get credit for that. But I just don't think it's vice versa. The husband does need to work on maybe the presence of the wife can inspire Krishna consciousness in the husband, and maybe the husband is able to see that the wife is involved in so many things, and he's in the house, he's hearing the names of Krishna, whether the husband likes or not. He's hearing the names of Krishna, and maybe he gets a better life next time, and in a family of devotees, depending upon the number of offenses committed. But I just don't see how here it's a very different case, Mataji, because in this case, you see King Prithu, since he is because of his stature, and the queen had no obligation. I mean, the queen really didn't even have to go and suffer because they had 5 children. The queen did not have to go to the forest, did not have to do all the austerities. She had to lie on the floor. She did everything for the satisfaction of Krishna in the ultimate sense. Even though she did for her husband, she did for the ultimate sense, for the satisfaction of Krishna. So it is a lot of austerity, and it's an unusual. It's not like a common situation that we can compare with in the material world, because it's like a pastime of the Lord. These are pastimes of the Lord, and so it was easy for. And after such difficult time, she was lying on the floor. She did all kinds of. She ate. They were taking fruits and berries from the forest and everything, and they were eating. And after undergoing so much of austerities to show to the humanity, to the world, about how to lose attachment from material things, then they departed to because all these are pastimes. What we are seeing in this 4th chapter, the way they went to forest, the way they behaved there, the way they acted, and the way they just hastened into the spiritual time, they're all pastimes. But it's very simple to see, Mataji, who is eligible to go to spiritual world? There's only a simple test there. Are you Krishna consciousness all the time? So every second we can think, are we doing something for our sense gratification? Are we doing something for Krishna? So if we are doing for Krishna and if the process is authorized, then we are doing for Krishna. So we cannot artificially, of course, imagine, okay, this must be pleasing to Krishna, that must be pleasing to Krishna. It has to come as an instruction from Bani Bapu in one of the means from our spiritual masters, and through this authorized means we know what is going to be so we get explicit instructions from our spiritual master what we should be doing and what we should not be doing, and based on that, when we can see that we are 100% Krishna conscious, we are eligible to go to Krishna. So it is not that simple that okay, we do something, somebody else get credit. They may get some credit, and what is it credit? Is that they hear the wife chanting and the wife doing things, and they are seeing things. It's not like so. In contrast to that, you have another wife who is like not bothered about Krishna consciousness. Of course, that husband is not going to learn anything from the process as long as there is no offense committed. Maybe in the next life, the husband can get a life which is more suitable for Krishna consciousness. And the fact that the husband also was married to this person who is to the wife who is Krishna conscious itself is because of his own spiritually pious activities in his previous life. Because otherwise he could have married somebody else. So does it answer the question, Mataji, to an extent?
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji, for such a wonderful class today.
Thank you, Mataji.
Dhanwad, Prabhuji. Anybody has any more questions for Prabhuji at this point? Yeah, if not, we would like to wrap up the call. So, Prabhuji, once again, thank you so much. It was indeed a very, very beautiful class. I really liked how you, initially when you started the class, you gave the crux of the entire class in points, and then you elaborated that further. So, I really, really enjoyed that, and gave a lot of information as well. So, thank you so much, Prabhuji. We are really grateful to you, and look forward to having your association again in future. As nobody has any more questions, we would wrap up the call now.
Very kind of you, Mataji. Thank you. Dhanwad Pranam.
Dhanwad Pranam, Prabhuji. Panchakaltarascha tata sindhubhyaiva cha patitanam pavnebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo Grasa Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, His Grace Jayananda Gauranga Prabhuji ki jai. Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhuji. Very nice class. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Very beautiful class and nice question answer session. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much for the wonderful class.
This session is no longer being recorded.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Goodbye.